Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. The anti-fascist dude who clubbed some guy over the head just got nearly 6 years in prison. Now, there's something really important about Antifa going to prison that needs to be talked about. We'll read the story. I've got some of the context of what actually happened. This goes back to that brawl in Portland where there was an old guy who got, clubbed over the head several times. Then video came out later showing he was actually clubbing before that. It's complicated. But here's the thing. Prisons have gangs. Many prisons have race-based gangs. When the dude in Berkeley, the bike lock basher, was about to be sentenced to prison, there was real concern because he has the strike through, the Antifa 3 arrows on his arm or chest or something. And everybody was saying, what do you think is going to happen when a white dude goes to prison and he's one of these, liberals who hates white people and believes in all this white privilege stuff, and he's confronted with the other race-based gangs they're not going to support him at all, and the white supremacist gangs being like, you can't come here, right? So you run the risk of essentially being by yourself. Now, I think that's a bit stereotypical. I've talked to some people who've been in prison. They said no one really cares. It's kind of chill. But that is a consideration, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, because my understanding is that there is a particularly dense white supremacist factions up there. It's a weird place. I got to admit. When I was in Portland, there's very few normies, right? As the internet would call them, like regular. I call them the uninitiated, people who are not focused on politics, which is the overwhelming majority of people. But I walk around like my town, and nobody talks politics. Nobody knows much about anything. They're like, I don't know what that is. But in Portland was nuts. I went to a burger joint. Someone was like, hey, I know you. Hey, and people were all tuned into what was going on. And it may be because of the street fights. They pay attention to the news. But for some reason, there were a ton of people in Portland who were, like, I would call them like moderate centrist types, like fans of the intellectual dark web, who knew I was. It was really cool. But there's supposedly a bunch of white supremacists, and as we know, there's a ridiculous amount of Antifa. So I have to wonder if, these young people have not had a prison experience. I can only wonder if the stereotypes will hold true. They go to prison, what's going to happen to them? Because everyone's going to know what they're in for. Oh, you're a guy who hates white people or something like that? Let's read the story. Before we get started, make sure you go to timcast.com/donate if you would like to support my work. There's a PayPal option, crypto option, physical address. But of course, as you know, share this video. It's highly likely going to be deranked. There's been some really bad throttling over the past few months. It comes and goes in waves. Nothing I can do about it. But if you share this video, it really does help, me grow and continue doing what I do. YouTube will try and suppress my content. So that means people who are subscribed to my content will no longer see it. And the hope is out of sight, out of mind. But if you watching this share this, they can't do anything about that. So it counteracts the censorship measures and the throttling and the deranking and the control that YouTube tries to place over content. We'll see what happens. I can only imagine eventually they'll just delete my channel, but I don't break any rules. It's not like that stopped them before. They delete channels without breaking rules. Let's read. From Oregon Live. A 24-year-old man who hit another man over the head with a baton in June during dueling downtown Portland demonstrations was sentenced Friday to nearly 6 years in prison. There's your stupid prize, buddy. Gage Hulapowski pleaded guilty to second-degree assault in connection with the June 29 attack on Adam Kelly outside the Nines Hotel along Southwest Moorzen Street. Hulapowski was identified as one of several masked, black-clothed demonstrators seen on video hitting and pepper spraying Kelly after he appeared to come to the aid of another man who'd been attacked during the protest, authorities said. He was wearing a mask. He was in black bloc. He was full-on Antifa. They still found him. Apparently, somebody pointed him out, and what a lot of people don't seem to realize, these young people, I feel really bad for these kids, man. I gotta admit. There are a lot of really bad actors in Antifa. And I'll make sure I clarify for those, who get angry about this on the left. There is a lot of not black bloc Antifa, and they call themselves that. But I'm sorry, man. If you're not going to call this out, if you're not going to say stop clubbing people over the head, well, then you're the same as the rest of them. Then you just have a militant wing who's doing this for you. They always say, like, Antifa just means anti-fascist. Okay, I don't care what you think it means, right? If you have people flying your flag and being violent, they are operating with you, okay? So you got to call them out. But the point is that this guy and these anti-fascists think they can go out wearing all black and it will protect them. Listen, You're the only one wearing that particular scarf. You're the only one wearing that particular hoodie and those particular boots. Just because you're wearing all black doesn't mean you cannot be identified. It helps. I get it. It does. But what happened here, someone pointed to him. They said, that's the boots, that's the pants, that's the shirt. We know who he is. And then the cops went and arrested him. Congratulations. 6 years in prison, buddy. But I was going to say, that's why I feel bad for some of these kids. They're told to show up wearing these things. And then it's like a finger snap. I tell you what, man. I've been to these protests. And you will get some dumb college kid who knows very little about anything, manipulated by these activist groups. I'm not exaggerating. They tell you, come out, wear black. And these kids are like, what is that for? And they say it's to show solidarity. That's the lie. To show solidarity. I mean, it's technically true. So you can see this big black mass of people. But it's really so that you can protect and shield those who will break the law. And then guess what happens? A lot of these young people who are really dumb do something stupid. See, once the mob mentality breaks out and a fight breaks out, this guy, for instance, I don't know what his motivation was, but let's just say he's there. He brought a baton. We know what his intention was. Congratulations, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But what about these other people who just start fighting and punching and kicking? There's a video from Luke Rudkowski of We Are Changed. We were all in Hamburg, Germany during the G20. Luke was walking down the street. He's got a backpack and he's just filming. And someone yelled Nazi pig in German. Random people ran up and started punching him. That kind of mob mentality, that's what's driving a lot of this. And so these people are stupid and they're dangerous. But to a degree, when I say I feel bad, it's like, look, you go to prison. End of story, right? But I am like, think about how sad it must be to be some stupid kid playing, Assassin's Creed in your bedroom. And then all of a sudden your friend's like, hey, you want to come to this protest? Wear a black hoodie. And you're like, all right. And then a fight breaks out. You don't know what's going on, but you're like, oh man, they're Nazis. They told me that these people are dumb. And you start fighting, and then all of a sudden you get arrested, and you're confused. What happened? I don't know. And just like that, they brought you down, they put you in the mob, the fight broke out, and they pushed you into the fight and said, do it, fight. Now you're in prison. Congratulations, your life is over. Like that. These kids are dumb. They're really dumb. You think this dude knows anything about politics? No. This guy's 24 years old. He has no idea what's going on. He's being told, oh, the Nazis are showing up. So he shows up with a baton, clubs a guy over the head after a fight breaks out, and now he's going away for 6 years. Just like that. Bro, you could have stayed home. You could have been playing World of Warcraft or whatever game you're playing. Call of Duty came out. They announced the new World of Warcraft expansion. That's why it's on the top of my mind. Instead, you went out for no reason, to do nothing, to change nothing, and clubbed the dude in a fight, and now you're going to go to prison for 6 years. They say, Kelly, a right-wing protester at the demonstrations, wrote on Facebook at the time that the blows to his head led to him suffering a concussion and needing 25 staples to close the wound. Now, I do want to make sure we point this out. The previous story, they link to a video. Do I have that video pulled up? I don't think I have the video pulled up. Let me see if I can find it. They say that this guy, Kelly, is seen. Here we go. You can see this guy actually go up to Antifa with a club. So let's not act like everybody's innocent here. That's not the point. So there's Kelly going up to an Antifa guy, right? There may have been a fight already, but listen, disengage. I can't tell the context, and I really, really hate short clips because you have no idea what happened. For all I know, that guy in the black kicked him and then jumped back, and then he swung back himself, and to defend himself as like a fight had started. He didn't start. I'm not going to play that game though. All we see in the clip is the guy moves forward with a baton. End of story. There's other videos of them walking around with a baton. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. You got clubbed over the head and you got a concussion. There's your stupid prize. At least you're not going to prison though. That's a thing. So in this particular instance, man, there's so much here. There was another big protest in New York. I think I'll save this for the next video because there's a lot to talk about in regards to Antifa and all this stuff. But they're now arguing this dude doesn't deserve 70 months in prison. Think about 70 months. Check this out. They say Multnomah County Deputy District Attorney Melissa Marrero said Holopowski hitting Kelly in the back of the head with an expandable baton was completely unexplainable, completely avoidable, and didn't need to happen. She said Kelly and Holopowski both were lucky that Kelly survived his injuries. And there it is, man. That's basically attempted murder. These kids don't get it. They are stupid, brainwashed. They're just stupid and brainwashed. It's mind-blowing to me. The problems I have is, you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's go. We'll do a long video. Check it out. The left is dominated by morons. The right is dominated by people, in my opinion, that are slightly more analytical today, I'm not saying it's always been this way, because, the left is going to be like, team siding with the conservatives. No. Today, you can tell by people like Dave Rubin and the intellectual dark web that the left is no longer the analytical side. They're reactionary. I mean that both in the colloquial sense, but also the historical context of trying to prevent change. They're racist, bigoted, short-sighted, and they overreact, and they're over-emotional. They're now ruining actual, like, real left-wing policy ideas. The right, however, has a more individualistic, more decently thought out, but not. I don't think they. I think the right is too individualistic, I guess. What ends up happening is the collective has gone nuts. The right rejects it, and there, in my opinion, based on everything I've looked at, there's got to be. There's a reason why I'm center left. And there's a reason why I don't like the current iteration of the left. They talk about, like, taxing all the billionaires, and that literally makes no sense. Because the economy isn't based upon who has green. Technically it is, I understand that point, but you dig deeper. The economy is based upon the value of labor, time, and access to resources. It is so much more complicated than just thinking you can tax the rich. Like, oh, I'll tax this rich guy and take all his money, and that'll pay for things. No, it's called inflation. The value of time doesn't change no matter what. Minimum wages don't change this, and taxing all the rich doesn't change this. Things will normalize. You can take all of Elon Musk's money, and you can build a community center, but then regardless, that money goes into the community, it spreads around. You know what you need to do, and I really do mean this. Take a look. I think scientists really should do something fascinating. Should look at World of Warcraft and how their gold economy works, because it is incredible. And I know you might be saying, oh, that's silly, Tim. And I know some people are saying, World of Warcraft, you filthy casual, and things like that. If you're not familiar with World of Warcraft, it is a you got to know what it is, right? It's this big online multiplayer game. When you play the game, various tasks earn you currency, copper, silver, and gold. Before, in the past, like when the game first came out, there was amazing economic things at play. Like you could look at the auction house, you could see the changing of prices based on the availability of resources, how that affects low-level characters versus high-level characters. And now in today's version, you can essentially buy gold. It's a complicated process, but you can pay. And because of this, the economy is just broken. In my opinion, it's completely broken. Prices make no sense. Some people just randomly put ridiculous prices because anybody can just pay $20, get a bunch of gold. So now they just buy whatever they want, and the price of everything has become insane. Like, it just makes no sense. So the reason I bring this up is to tie it back into this Antifa stuff. This dude believes insane nonsense. Going out and clubbing people and fighting for a world that can't exist, doesn't exist, it literally makes no sense. There is a system in place. There are people with families. There are people who believe different things than you. You are not right. You don't know everything. Let's just be real about it. Is there injustice in the world? You bet there is. Are there dirty cops? Oh, there sure are a lot of them. And we need to do what we can to get rid of them. But guess what? You're standing on the shoulders of giants. We have built this system over thousands of years. We have figured out the best way so far to preserve individual liberties, the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and hold people accountable. And it is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer. And it makes for a very complicated problem. They say, who watches the watchman? So these people are out protesting their fellow citizens, not the government. And it's one of the weirdest things I've experienced, because they have a fundamental misunderstanding of how the world actually works and what's possible. And I blame the past generations. It's that simple. I don't want to just say boomers. Gen Xers are responsible to an extent. Boomers, greatest, everybody is. You can see how we've moved in this direction. Laziness, people confuse discipline with you can be strict and you can be empathetic. You can teach your kid, don't put on a black mask and club someone to the head. You can teach your kid critical thinking, situational awareness. You need to make sure, okay, when you have kids, assuming you do, look at this guy who's 25, who's going to prison now for 6 years. His life's over, okay? Here's the thing that people need to understand about prison, and why I really, really disagree with a lot of this. I do not like the prison system. 6 years is the wrong way to solve this problem. Rehabilitation. That's what we need. This dude needs to be taken, not put into a prison. He needs to be put into some kind of situation where he can work, become normalized and break out of this psychotic brainwashing from fringe media and activist groups who have done this to him. You know, you've got people, there are different reasons people commit crimes. So I think you can't just have this one size fits all, lock them up in a cage and there you go, and then they're gone. In the short term, yeah, it solves a problem. That guy's no longer on the street. He's not going to be clubbing people. I get it. In the long term, what's going to happen, though? Dude's going to get out and he's going to be all screwed up. 6 years from now, technology is going to be different. I read this thread once that was asking people who went to prison what was the most shocking thing. One guy wrote how he went to prison just before smartphones. And when he got out, smartphones had advanced multiple generations, and he was shocked. Like, the world was so dramatically different. Before smartphones, people didn't have the internet literally everywhere they were. You got to think about this. People don't realize this. I remember going to a skate park, and I had a candy bar phone with like crappy internet, and I'm trying to Google something. I'm like, it's too hard. Ignored it. There was no internet. That's it. No Twitter, nothing. And so I was just skating. I had no idea what was going on in the world. After the advent of the smartphone, or the ubiquity of it, all of a sudden now we're connected 24/7. Information spread is rampant. Everybody can film everything. And that was a dramatic change. This dude's not going to be better off for this. Now I get it. We can be emotionally satisfied that he's going to prison. We can laugh about it and be like, haha, good, you're getting locked up. It's not going to solve any problems. And it's not going to get to the underlying root of why this people is screwed up in the first, why this guy and these people are so screwed up in the first place. And it doesn't just go for Antifa. It goes for the fringe, far right, white supremacy, whatever. It's everybody who's lost their damn mind. The regular people in this country are just that. Regular people, they want to work, provide for their family, and they do care. And they do want to figure out solutions. And they don't want the world to burn, okay? You've got these ideologues who think that like Republicans are all laughing, swirling their scotch as the world burns, just like, ha 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 ha. And you've got people who think that Antifa are, look. I think it's Jonathan Haidt's research that shows Republicans, conservatives and moderates do understand the mentality of the left, but the left doesn't understand the mentality of the right. And that's a big problem. These people haven't been exposed to real life. They have no responsibility. And then they grow up in this weird world and not understanding what is and isn't. This dude would do well to be dropped in the middle of the woods and told, you're on your own. Now, obviously, I think that's a bit extreme. I'm not actually saying we should do that to criminals and stuff. But think about one of the big problems that these young leftists have is they don't understand the concept of like energy in, energy out. And what I mean by that is they grew up in a society where everything is handed to them. Food is abundant. They're overweight. They want for nothing. The only thing left is utopia, things that can't be obtained. Because they've got their computers, they got their laptops, they got their smartphones. Everything is perfect. But it can't be perfect. Humans must always strive. So they become ideological. Then they believe that there's evil in the world, holding people back. No, man, America is basically the freest country on the planet. I mean, technically there's freer places, but I mean, in terms of like not as bad crime in a certain sense, opportunity, growth, wealth, America's doing pretty good. So this dude, he could change the world very easily. He could go out, start building, start campaigning, start nonprofit, start actually advocating for change. He doesn't. He wants to go out with a club and bash someone over the head because, well, I blame his parents and the people who are around him. And so he needs to be stripped from that. And so people can show him how the world actually works. Here's what I tell people. If you took me, took all my clothes, took everything away from me, dropped me in the middle of the woods, that's zero. All right, that's actually, that's not necessarily a zero. That's like on a scale of positive being you're in a good place and negative being in a bad place. You're actually at like a 5. You're a little bit higher than bad. You know why? You're healthy. So you're in the woods. You got a lot to do. You got to find shelter. You got to find a water source, food. You got to cover up. So there's a lot of work you got to do. So you're in a pretty bad spot, but you're not negative. You're still healthy and intact. Now you just have to figure out how to collect resources. But imagine life is like a video game. And people in America like this dude, they pick easy mode. You're born in America. All of a sudden, it's like you're in a warm house with clean water, clean showers, no disease, no worms, no parasites. You go to the best schools, you get a good education. Everything is handed to you. So you have no idea what hardship really feels like. Try being homeless. Now, here's what I say. You put me in the middle of the woods, buck naked, hand me a pointy stick. Now we're talking. See, now I can start doing something. I can throw that stick at a rabbit, maybe eat that. Won't last for a long time, but hey, rabbits, you get some nutrients out of it. But now if you're naked in the middle of the woods and you're bleeding, now you're negative. Now things are bad. See, this person, here's what happens. These kids, these Antifa types, they grow up in a world where everything is so perfect. To them, they believe that their baseline, which is like the wealthiest person in the world, is neutral. And when they go below that, they panic. Everything's bad now. 'Cause it's all relative, right? I was talking, let me tell you this other story. I mean, we'll make this video a little longer. When I went to Brazil, I was talking to somebody in a favela, and they asked me why the rich people were protesting in the United States. They were referring to Occupy Wall Street, and I laughed and I said, "No, the Occupy Wall Street are like young people and poor people." And the mother is like this older lady. She laughed. She's like, "Americans are all rich," and I laughed because I saw how they lived in the favelas, and the GDP per capita is like $8,000 in Brazil. And so here you have these people in the U.S. who are like some of the basically the richest people in the world, where everything's always been handed to them, complaining. And that was perspective for me. I certainly think we should always strive to do better. That's why things are so great here. We don't settle for less. But I don't want to make this too long. I'll wrap up my thoughts on this story, right? Dude goes to prison. Congratulations. He thought life was so bad, but he had everything on a silver platter. It's just everything was handed to this person, just like everybody else. Even if you are homeless in the United States, and I know this from experience, you are still wealthy. You know why? You can walk up to somebody and just say the word cheeseburger. Eventually, someone will buy you a cheeseburger. I kid you not. You go to New York City, stand there holding up a sign saying cheeseburger, please. And eventually someone will walk up and hand you one. It's incredible. I mean that literally. You look at all of the charity and all of the work people do to protect each other, and sometimes it's a bit too much. But go to a foreign country, hold up a sign saying cheeseburger, and they'll laugh at you saying, "Yeah, me too. I need a cheeseburger." What they don't realize is that they live in abundance and wealth. And they're angry because they want a utopia that doesn't exist. So where do you go when you're at the top? That's the challenge. For me, I think invention, research, development, technology, exploring the stars, building a spaceship, figuring out new ways to make things better. Instead, they don't have that. They're not smart enough. Everything's already perfect. They have no disease to worry about for the most part. We've cured everything. We've vaccinated against most things. You got a ER, even though medical costs are really high, we still have tremendous quality of care. So what next? You can literally, in Portland, get food from all over the world. You want Chinese food, Thai food? I know it's Americanized, but you can get whatever you want, just the snap of your fingers. You can talk to someone in China. What else do you do? That's where the ideology comes in. So he says, I have to do something. And they're now, without purpose, replacing it by showing up and bashing people over the head. This can't go on. But without purpose, without a common cause, this is what will happen. So they've created their common cause, right? They've created their cause, and it's to go and attack other Americans they don't like. We need something better than that. We need a space race. We need a national or collective competition where everyone says success for us is X, and it's not going around beating people we don't like. Imagine if this dude dedicated his life to reaching Mars instead of going around clubbing somebody. The amount of conviction and energy to show up wearing black, bashing people over the head, I gotta admit, it's a decent amount. It is. Because a regular person says, leave me alone, I just want to eat a cheeseburger. So if you're willing to get up and go and do this, imagine if we could direct that energy towards something more positive. I blame the parents. And to an extent, it's going to get worse, right? Because this dude will be seen as a victim. And they'll use it to recruit more and spread their disgusting and decaying ideology about getting violent against people in their own community. Instead of saying, let's all build a community center together and help the homeless. Imagine if this dude, instead of going out with a club and bashing someone, said, I'm going to go work at a soup kitchen. It's that simple. Anyway, I'll wrap this one up. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. I will see you all there.